In the scorching desert of Iraq in 2004, a young Marine sniper named Jim Gilliland found himself facing an age-old enemy of every marksman, the wind. The desert winds were notoriously tricky, swirling, and unpredictable. For snipers, whose job depends on hitting targets from incredible distances, misjudging the wind could mean the difference between mission success and failure, or even life and death. The standard methods for calculating windage, taught for generations, just weren't cutting it in this extreme environment. The math was complex, the tools were cumbersome, and in the heat of battle, time was a luxury no one had. Jim, a corporal with the 1st Marine Division, wasn't just any sniper. He was a thinker, an innovator. He watched as seasoned snipers struggled, their shots going wide because of a sudden gust or a subtle shift in the breeze. He saw the frustration. He understood the stakes. The existing system relied on a formula that involved wind speed, distance, and a pre-calculated bullet coefficient. Snipers would use a handheld anemometer to measure the wind, plug the numbers into the formula, and then adjust their scopes. It was a slow, multi-step process. In a fast-moving urban combat situation, by the time you finished your calculations, the target was gone. Gilliland knew there had to be a better way. He started obsessing over it. During downtime at his forward operating base, while others rested or wrote letters home, Jim was experimenting. He filled his notebooks with data, observations, and crude drawings. He noticed how the wind interacted with the terrain, how it funneled through alleys and swirled over rooftops. He realized the problem wasn't just the wind's speed, but its inconsistency. You could measure a 10-mile-per-hour wind at your position, but 100 yards downrange, it could be half that, or blowing in a slightly different direction. His breakthrough came from a simple, yet profound, shift in perspective. Instead of trying to precisely measure an immeasurable force, what if you could use the environment itself to read the wind? He began to focus on the phenomenon of mirage. In the desert heat, the shimmering waves of heat rising from the ground are a constant. To most, it's just a visual distortion. But to Gilliland, it was a data stream. He noticed that the mirage, the heat waves you see, moves with the wind. The faster the wind, the faster the mirage would appear to drift across his field of view. This was the key. He started to correlate the speed of the mirage with the actual wind speed. He'd set up a target, then use his anemometer to get a wind reading. Then, he'd look through his high-powered scope and observe the mirage. Through painstaking trial and error, he learned to read the mirage. A slow, boiling mirage meant a light wind. A faster, diagonal shimmer meant a stronger crosswind. He was essentially using the entire landscape as his wind meter. It was intuitive, it was instant, and most importantly, it was real-time information from downrange, not just at his own position. But that was only half the battle. He still needed a faster way to translate that observation into a scope adjustment. The old math was too slow. This is where Gilliland's genius truly shone. He developed a simplified system based on constants and easy mental math. He realized that for his specific rifle and ammunition, the M40 sniper rifle and the 7.62mm M118 LR round, certain relationships were always true. He created a system that used the target's size in the scope, measured in mils, as the basis for his calculation. His new formula was elegant in its simplicity. It was a short, easy-to-remember equation that a sniper could do in his head in seconds. Instead of a long, convoluted process, it became observe the mirage. plug that observation into the simple formula and make the adjustment. It cut the calculation time from minutes down to mere seconds. He called it the Gilliland formula, but to the grunts on the ground, it was just that new dope. Dope, in sniper parlance, is the data for windage and elevation. At first, his superiors were skeptical. This was a corporal, a young guy, rewriting a doctrine that had been in place for decades. The Marine Corps, like any military branch, is built on tradition and proven methods, but results are hard to argue with. Gilliland started teaching his method to his fellow snipers in his platoon. Their performance in the field improved dramatically. Shots that were previously considered low percentage or even impossible were now being made consistently. The word started to spread. His moment to prove it on a bigger stage came during the Second Battle of Fallujah, one of the most intense and brutal urban battles of the entire Iraq War. Gilliland and his sniper team were providing overwatch for infantry units, clearing the city block by block. The environment was a sniper's nightmare. The wind whipped through bombed-out buildings and narrow streets, creating a vortex of unpredictable currents. In one now famous engagement, Gilliland spotted an enemy insurgent with a rocket-propelled grenade launcher, preparing to fire on a Marine patrol. The distance was over 1,250 meters. That's more than 1,300 yards, nearly 3/4 of a mile. It was a staggering distance, pushing the absolute limits of his rifle and his own skill. The wind was gusting. Using the old methods, a shot like that would have been a prayer, a guess, but Gilliland was calm. Through his scope, he wasn't just looking at the target. He was reading the story of the wind, written in the mirage between him and the insurgent. He saw the heat waves drifting steadily from left to right. He judged the speed. In his head, the new formula clicked into place. He made a rapid calculation, adjusted his scope, controlled his breathing, and squeezed the trigger. Seconds later, the shot landed. The threat was neutralized. The patrol was safe. That single shot, made under immense pressure at an extreme distance, was a testament to the effectiveness of his new system. It wasn't luck, it was science, a new science he had pioneered. The shot was recorded as one of the longest confirmed kills in the history of the Iraq War. After that, the skepticism vanished. Gilliland was no longer just a corporal with a crazy idea. He was a combat-proven innovator. The Marine Corps Sniper School at Quantico, Virginia, the institution that trains the best of the best, got wind of his methods. They brought him back to the States to demonstrate his technique. He stood before seasoned instructors, master gunnery sergeants who had forgotten more about sniping than most people will ever know, and he showed them a better way. They tested it. They tried to break it. They ran it through every scenario they could think of. The result was undeniable. The Gilliland formula was faster, more accurate, and more adaptable than the old doctrine. It was officially adopted and integrated into the Marine Corps sniper training curriculum. Today, every single Marine sniper is taught the Mirage reading technique and the simplified math pioneered by Jim Gilliland in the dust and heat of Iraq. His innovation didn't just stay within the Marines. The Army, Navy SEALs, and other special operations units throughout the U.S. military, and even allied nations, have since adopted variations of his system. It has become a fundamental skill for modern long-range marksmanship. What Jim Gilliland did was more than just invent a new way to shoot. He embodied the spirit of the American warfighter, the ability to adapt, to innovate, and to overcome any obstacle on the battlefield. He saw a problem, refused to accept the status quo. And through sheer ingenuity and relentless dedication, he created a solution that has undoubtedly saved countless lives. He didn't have a PhD in physics or a team of engineers. He had a rifle, a notebook, and an unyielding desire to make himself and his brothers in arms more effective. It's a powerful story that shows how sometimes the most revolutionary ideas come not from a laboratory, but from the crucible of experience. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. We'll see you in the next one.